Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Local News Live. This is a service of AOC Community Media. We read articles from the Acadiana Advocate each weekday at 9 o'clock, local and state stories led by a group of wonderful volunteers. If you would like to volunteer to be a part of our service, you can email us at info@aocinc.org. You can also visit our website, aocinc.org. Check out the volunteer tab. You can fill out a form and see other opportunities that may be something that you're interested in. We've got a lot to cover this morning. We've got a lot of local state news. We'll also cover some fun stuff like Today in History, the Zodiac, and even some PSAs coming up a little later on in the hour. Let's get started. Lafayette General Health got appraisal of the Hyman Center. Confidential emails show government workers aided effort. This is an article by Claire Taylor. Lafayette Consolidated Government employees assisted Lafayette General Health in appraising the value of its South College Road neighbor, the Hyman Center, for Performing Arts, marking emails about the appraisal as confidential. It's not like we're trying to make a secret deal, Jamie Angel, Chief Communications Officer for Lafayette Consolidated Government, said Monday. They asked for an appraisal. No discussions regarding a sale of the center and parking lot are underway, and no offer has been made by Lafayette General, he said. Angel said the city would have to do its due diligence if the hospital expressed an interest in buying the property and center, including looking closely at the agreement made when the Hyman family donated the property to the city, and any transfer of assets, he added, would require approval from the city council. The Hyman Center sits on 7 acres of commercial property directly beside Lafayette General Medical Center near Lafayette's Oil Center. No one else has requested an appraisal of any other Lafayette Consolidated Government buildings, Angel said. Lafayette General Health initiated the conversation. The exchange of information, he said, was largely kept between LGH and the Public Works Department. Veronica Ryder, Executive Secretary to Public Works Director Chad Nepvo, reached out via email to at least 2 other LCG employees for information on behalf of LGH for the audit with an August 30th deadline, emails show. The Hyman Center was finished in 1960 and includes a theater that hosts plays, musical performances, and local dance recitals. The ballroom was used for Mardi Gras balls and other events. Lafayette General has looked at properties inside and outside the oil center as part of long-term planning. Patricia Thompson, director. Okay, looks like we're reconnected. There we go. I'm not sure what our issue is this morning, but I had a connection problem there for a moment. My broadcast software disconnected and reconnected, so let's hope it stays there this time. Let's hope you can actually hear me. Okay, so we're going to get back into this article. Patricia Thompson, Director of Marketing and Communications at Lafayette General. We're anticipating quite a bit of growth over the next decade, she said. Any decision the hospital would make related to the Hyman Center, Thompson said, would need to be mutually beneficial to both the hospital and arts community. We would not want to negatively impact the arts community and would seek to preserve the legacy and history of the Hyman Center, she said. In 2019, Lafayette General Health and Ochsner Health signed a letter of intent to combine and become one of the largest health systems in the southern United States. In April, the boards of both systems okayed a shared mission agreement for the merger of the 2 organizations. The merger is set to become final this fall. LGH has over $500 million in assets and employs approximately 4,500 people. Residents of Lafayette may be skittish about secretive appraisals since 2018, when Robideau signed a non-binding letter of intent with Bernard Energy that allowed the company access to finances and other details of Lafayette Utilities system with an eye toward either purchasing or managing the city-owned utility system. Robideau kept the arrangement quiet until the online publication. The Current first reported the deal, setting off a firestorm of opposition. A 2018 Lafayette Parish Home Rule Charter Amendment approved by voters now requires a vote of the citizens of Lafayette before LUS can be sold or managed by an outside entity. And the Guillory veto will restore raises for 4 of his staff, an article by Claire Taylor. Pay raises will be restored for 4 employees of the Lafayette Mayor President's Office if a budget line item veto. Let's see, just give me one second. When you think it's an important work call and it's scam likely. Do you get those? Okay. Pay raises will be restored for 4 employees of the Lafayette Mayor President's Office if a budget line item veto is not overturned by the city and parish councils. A 2% raise for other Lafayette Consolidated employees will not be restored. Mayor President Josh Guillory on Friday vetoed a line for his office in the 2020-2021 budget adopted September 17th. City Councilman Glenn Lazard proposed and both councils approved a budget amendment during budget reviews to remove proposed raises for select employees in the Mayor President's office. A promised 2% raise for other Lafayette Consolidated government employees was not included in the budget because of concerns that taxes fell during business closures for the COVID-19 pandemic. But Guillory proposed a $10,000 raise for Carlos Harvin, the Director of Minority Affairs, a position created by Guillory when he took office in January. The raise would bring Harvin's annual pay to $60,000 a year. Robert D. Benoit, Guillory's chief of staff, who supervises the animal shelter and emergency operations, would receive a $14,550 pay adjustment, bringing his salary to $103,800. Benoit previously was a director in LCG under the late city parish president Walter Como and returned to LCG during the administration of previous mayor president Joel Robideau. He also was chief of staff for the State Department of Natural Resources. Benoit said around 96 LCG employees are paid more than him, and if the pay raise goes through, around 36 employees still make more than the chief of staff. Catherine Rayo, Senior Communications Specialist, is in line to receive a $2,000 raise, bringing her salary to $49,250, and Jenny Morrow, Administrative Specialist, would receive a $2,963 raise, bringing her salary to $42,213. In his veto message, Guillory said he eliminated 3 positions, changed others, and cut his office's payroll by 25% since taking office in January. In restructuring his office, Guillory said some employees have taken on additional responsibilities that warrant adjusted salaries. He balked at calling them raises, saying the term is grossly misrepresentative of the truth. Even with the proposed pay adjustments for the 4 employees, Guillory said the payroll for his office is less than the 2019-20 budget, and his office will spend 20% less in the 2021 fiscal year that begins November 1st than in the current fiscal year. Guillory wrote that there is no reasonable public policy rationale for cutting the pay adjustments to his staff, and I won't speculate as to the motive. I am restoring this compensation to 4 key members of my staff who have proven to be dedicated and highly valuable throughout the multiple crises our parish has faced since taking office in January, he wrote. The city and parish councils at a joint meeting October 6th are expected to consider overriding the veto. It will take 4 out of 5 members of both councils to override the veto. That's not likely to happen, especially given the parish council's tendency to vote in line with the mayor president's wishes. Okay, let's move on to the next story this morning. An effort to change coronavirus restrictions begins taking shape. An article by Sam Carlin. As the gavel fell Monday evening, the Louisiana legislature began a month-long session specially called by Republican lawmakers to review bills on a long list of issues, the foremost of which are Governor John Bel Edwards' coronavirus restrictions. With little fanfare, members of the Louisiana House and State Senate shuffled through a few dozen bills and resolutions assigning the measures to committees for further hearings. And the push to give lawmakers a say in coronavirus rules started taking shape. Republican lawmakers are circulating petitions to end the emergency health declaration that underlies a sheaf of directives to lessen the spread of the deadly COVID-19, but also have led to widespread shutdowns of business activities and unprecedented unemployment. GOP legislators, including Senate President Paige Cortez and House Speaker Clay Schexnayder, want to give the legislature a seat at the table in emergency powers. The legislature is a co-equal branch of government, and we should have a seat at the table, Cortez said. Bills filed by the two legislative leaders would create a committee of lawmakers to be informed about emergency declarations if they last more than 30 days. It would also allow the legislature to nullify a public health emergency through a petition of both houses. Currently, one house can end the emergency through a petition on its own. Asked what specific components of Edwards' coronavirus restrictions he objects to, Cortez said merely that lawmakers want a seat at the table. Republicans have railed against a host of the rules, including restrictions on bars and restaurants and visits to nursing homes. Schexnayder laid out 4 priorities: Hurricane Laura relief, coronavirus relief to businesses, addressing the governor's emergency powers, and shoring up the fund that pays unemployment claims. The latter is the top priority of the Louisiana Association of Business and Industry, the top business lobby, and the governor has said he wants to find a way to replenish the fund to avoid an automatic tax on businesses and a cut to benefits. Senator Ronnie Johns, Republican Lake Charles, made note of the state's twin challenges, COVID-19 and recovery from Laura, in his opening prayer in the Senate. Father, our people are hurting like no other time in our state's history, said Johns. The session, called by Republican lawmakers instead of the governor, comes nearly 7 months after Louisiana confirmed its first case of coronavirus on the first day of the regular legislative session back on March 9th. Fed up with being sidelined for coronavirus decisions, Republicans want to take on Edwards' emergency powers to close down bars, limit capacity in restaurants, and make other sweeping regulations by executive order. Speaker Pro Tem Tanner McGee, a Houma Republican, said GOP lawmakers in various camps have a common goal of having a role in the governor's restrictions. That's a long time to let one person in a democracy make decisions, McGee said. If Edwards had done a better job of communicating with the legislature, I don't think we'd even be here. The governor has denounced the effort to change or limit his ability to issue emergency declarations. He said the state constitution bestows the authority to him and that you cannot respond to a public health emergency by committee. The controversy over Edwards' executive orders isn't new. In the regular legislative session this spring, Republican legislators threatened legislation that would take away the governor's ability to enforce restrictions. Shortly thereafter, Edwards loosened the coronavirus rules, though he said the decision was only made because the data allowed him to do so. Now some lawmakers say they want a more robust change in state law to give the legislature a role in the process. At some point, the legislature should be involved in these strong decisions that are really consequential, said Representative Mark Wright, Republican of Covington. So many of us in the House and the Senate got a lot of constituents calling us dumbfounded that we really couldn't do anything about it. Wright, who filed a bill to require the legislature to approve an emergency declaration after 30 days, described the legislation as an effort to give lawmakers the ability to negotiate with the governor. If lawmakers are upset about a rule to require bars to close at a certain time, for instance, they could tell the governor they will reject his emergency declaration unless it is changed. Several other bills aim to accomplish something similar. Then there's the nuclear option, a petition signed by a majority of either the House or Senate that would effectively revoke all coronavirus rules, allowing bars, restaurants, amusement parks, and all other businesses open to 100% capacity with no social distancing or mask requirements. Wow. Okay. Conservative state representatives, led by State Representative Alan Seabaugh, Republican of Shreveport, have circulated a petition for months, but additional petitions have emerged recently. In July, State Representative Tony Bacala, Republican of Prairieville, came out against a petition to nullify the public health emergency for 2 months after contracting the virus himself. Now he is backing a new petition to end the declaration for 14 days. In the governor's press room on the 4th floor of the state capitol on Monday, Bacala and more than a dozen other lawmakers met with Dr. Alan Bu, who joined remotely to field pointed questions about the state's coronavirus statistics. Bacala said members wanted to know about how the state is counting deaths and whether the mask mandate was the true cause of a downturn in infections, among other things. Bacala said he has come around to the petition idea in part because it's been 6 months of restrictions. The petition is seen by many Republicans as a way to hold leverage as the session goes forward. The GOP doesn't have the votes on their own to override an Edwards veto in the House, so the petition could hang over the governor's head as he decides whether to sign or veto a bill to give the legislature more power in his emergency decisions. A majority of members think we need to do something different, Bacala said. If legislation fails, including by veto, we have an avenue to do something. Okay. Louisiana LNG operators' finances changed during the coronavirus pandemic. An article by Kristen Mossbrucker. Big liquefied natural gas projects in southwest Louisiana have been busy tweaking their financing through the course of the coronavirus pandemic and also been dealing with damage caused by Hurricane Laura. There are 2 active LNG export terminals in Louisiana capable of filling tankers for overseas shipments, with others under construction or proposed. The 2 active terminals are Houston-based Cheniere Energy's Sabine Pass LNG near the Louisiana and Texas border, and Houston-based Cameron LNG, which has an export terminal in Hackberry between the ports of Lake Charles and Cameron Parish. Cameron LNG took a more direct hit from the hurricane and is not expected to restart for a few more weeks. Cameron LNG declared force majeure, a term for telling traders and customers it would not be able to fulfill contract obligations for LNG shipments during its downtime. About 9 cargo vessels of LNG have not been delivered as scheduled, according to estimates by analytics data firm S&P Global Platts. Cheniere Energy was able to resume its operations soon after Hurricane Laura struck a month ago and has resumed construction of its 6th liquefaction unit. Meanwhile, a significant early investor in Cheniere divested some of its ownership by selling a portion. Also, Houston-based Tellurian extended a loan on its planned Driftwood LNG project. Another LNG export terminal, Venture Global LD, remains under construction in Cameron Parish at the edge of the Gulf of Mexico. It is expected to open for business in 2022. For liquefied natural gas export terminals, financing is a massive undertaking that costs billions and requires underwriting from not just financiers but also joint ventures. LNG projects have been taking both paths as they continue to look ahead decades into the future and place multi-billion-dollar bets that demand for natural gas around the world, particularly among economies developing a robust middle class, will grow with a desire for a different form of electricity and power generation. Securing reliable customer contracts, along with access to natural gas pipelines for supplies from shale plays, are important components to getting financing. Private equity giant Blackstone last month sold a 42% stake in Cheniere Energy Partners to Brookfield Infrastructure, and funds managed by its Blackstone Infrastructure Partners affiliate, Brookfield Infrastructure and Blackstone Infrastructure, each own roughly half of that 42% cut of Cheniere Energy, according to the companies. The value of the deal was $1 billion. In 2012, Blackstone Energy Partners invested $1.5 billion to build the first 2 liquefaction units at Cheniere's Sabine Pass LNG. Abu Dhabi's sovereign wealth fund recently acquired a 5.1% stake in Cheniere for $615 million. Houston-based Tellurian, which expects to build the $30 billion Driftwood LNG export terminal, extended its loan by another 4 months. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission records show. Tellurian's $87.5 million loan is now due in March 2022 in exchange for paying down $12 million of the loan principal. Tellurian's stock price has traded below $1 per share for more than 30 consecutive days, and its stock faces being delisted from the NASDAQ exchange within the next few months if the price doesn't go up. Tellurian, in particular, is a company whose fate is tied to operators in Louisiana because it has its own deals to access the Haynesville shale and build pipelines to the coast. As of last week, the company had only signed a deal dating back to 2019 with subsidiaries of Total SA to invest $500 million into Driftwood Holdings LP and the LNG terminal itself. Another deal with Petronet in India is still ongoing. Okay, let's move on to our next story this morning. A bill revives floating fish farm proposal. Previous rules opening Gulf blocked by federal court. An article by Tristan Blarick. A new bill in Congress would open the Gulf of Mexico and other federal waters to offshore fish farming, a controversial idea backed by President Donald Trump's administration, but opposed by environmental groups and elements of the seafood industry that depend on wild fisheries. Introduced Thursday and sponsored by U.S. Senators Roger Wicker, Republican of Mississippi, Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida, and Brian Schatz, a Democrat from Hawaii, the Advancing the Quality and Understanding of America Aquaculture Act aims to accomplish what a recent federal court decision said was impossible unless Congress intervened. Last month, the U.S. Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans blocked federal rules that would have allowed offshore fish farming for the first time in the Gulf, considered potentially a prime area for raising high-value fish in large floating pens. The court said federal regulators lacked the authority to create an entire industry not mentioned in the Magnuson-Stevens Act, the primary law governing fisheries since 1976. If anyone is to expand the 40-year Magnuson-Stevens Act to reach aquaculture for the first time, it must be Congress, the decision said. The Aqua Act would do just that. It would establish national standards and a regulatory system for offshore aquaculture. It would also initiate a research and technology grant program to fund improvements in the industry. Expanding aquaculture would be a boon to American businesses that help meet growing demand for seafood, Wicker said. Aquaculture is the fastest-growing food production sector, but the U.S. lacks a comprehensive nationwide system for permitting in federal waters, he said in a statement. This deficiency prevents the development of aquaculture farms, leading to more seafood imports. U.S. fishers and aquaculture operations have lagged in meeting demand for fish and other seafood. More than 80% of the seafood eaten by Americans is imported. Opponents say offshore fish farms will create pollution in the form of fish waste, spread diseases to wild fish populations, and increase competition with fishing companies that depend on wild catches. Industrial finfish aquaculture facilities harm wild ecosystems and threaten local fishermen's livelihoods, said Rosanna Marie Neal, policy specialist with Northwest Atlantic Marine Alliance. Instead of supporting the corporate takeover of our oceans, lawmakers should safeguard the livelihoods of fishermen and coastal residents who are already struggling. Other groups opposed to offshore aquaculture include the Center for Food Safety, Gulf Fishermen's Association, Alabama Charter Fishing Association, and New Orleans-based Recirculating Farms Coalition and Healthy Gulf. The slow-simmering effort to allow fish farming in the Gulf received a major boost in May when Trump signed an executive order making it the policy of the federal government to identify and remove unnecessary regulatory barriers, restricting aquaculture in federal waters. The appeals court decision didn't slow his administration's efforts to allow offshore fish farms. Within weeks of the decision, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration announced plans to designate waters in the Gulf and off the California coast that show strong potential for aquaculture, while the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers began streamlining the aquaculture permitting process. Fish farming is currently allowed in ponds and tanks on land and in floating pens in some marine waters managed by states, such as Washington and Hawaii. Only one offshore fish farm has been proposed in the Gulf to date. Ocean Era of Hawaii envisions installing an underwater net pen about 45 miles southwest of Sarasota, Florida. The project, called Velella Epsilon, could produce 20,000 almaco jack, a fish similar to amberjack, each year. Rubio said fish farming presents an enormous opportunity for Florida's economy. Opponents say the industry's benefits would be concentrated with a few companies that have the money to build expensive farms. Even Ocean Era, which already operates an Almaco jack farm in Hawaii, relied on federal assistance to get its Florida project going. In 2017, NOAA gave Ocean Era a $130,000 grant to help with permitting, research, and promotion efforts. It's doubtful fish farms will create many jobs, according to Food and Water Watch, which found that floating farms in Hawaii typically employed about 22 people. Fish farms could threaten existing fishing jobs by producing seafood that undercuts prices for wild-caught varieties, say members of the Louisiana Shrimp Association. The Aqua Act was referred to the Senate Committee on Commerce, Science, and Transportation last week. A companion bill was introduced in the U.S. House of Representatives. All right, let's see. Next story this morning. Southern Screen goes virtual for the 10th anniversary of their festival. The deadline nears. Looks like there we go. We're connected again. I'm having some connection issues this morning. Okay, where were we? The films are aired at 6 p.m. each Tuesday at southernscreen.org/calendar and are followed by a Q&A with the filmmaker. Southern Screen provides a platform for emerging storytellers to showcase their craft and creativity through film screenings, live music, creative writing, podcasts, community and industry workshops, networking, mixers, and more. Special guests at previous Southern Screen festivals have included actress Allison Becker of Parks and Recreation, producer Monty Ross of Malcolm X, and writer and voice artist John Wiener of Family Guy. Early bird passes to the virtual event are available through the end of September. The 2020 festival schedule will be announced October the 5th. Early bird passes for the 4-day virtual festival start at $60. Single session tickets are also available. Individual screenings and film series tickets are $10 each. Seminars, workshops, live artist discussions, and panels are $15 each. Some events require reservations, including the virtual event, and have capacity limitations. You can learn more at southernscreen.org/attend. And it's 9:28. Let's take a look at the crime blotter this morning. A woman arrested after body of a 2-year-old found. A woman has been arrested in connection with the death of a 2-year-old found in a vehicle Sunday in Lafayette Parish. Natalie Broussard, 27, was arrested and booked on account of negligent homicide, according to a news release from the Lafayette Parish Sheriff's Office. Sheriff's deputies were called out to the 6900 block of Cameron Street in Doosan about 1:50 p.m. on Sunday in reference to a deceased toddler. No further details were available as of Monday afternoon. Man accused of shooting at vehicle. An Abbeville man remained in the Vermilion Parish Correctional Center on Monday, accused of firing numerous shots at another man's vehicle. In a statement, Abbeville police said Roland Bernard III and a second driver crossed paths about 10:45 a.m. Saturday, and police believe the accused man leaned out of the vehicle he was driving and fired several rounds at the victim's vehicle, hitting it numerous times. Police later took Bernard into custody and charged him with attempted first-degree murder, illegal use of weapons or dangerous instrumentalities, aggravated criminal damage to property, and obstruction of justice. Police said Monday an investigation was continuing. Bernard's bail was set at $402,500, according to Correctional Center records. And a man sentenced to 4 years in heroin case. Billy Louvier, 44, of Lafayette, was sentenced Monday to 4 years and 7 months in federal custody after he pleaded guilty January 7th to a charge of possession of heroin with intent to distribute. He was also sentenced to 3 years of unsupervised release. A statement from the U.S. Attorney's Office said Louvier and co-conspirators were buying and selling heroin in the Lafayette area. Evidence included cell phone communications between Louvier and his co-conspirators. Louvier was arrested in February 2018 following a traffic stop and police dog search. Officers searched the vehicle and found a scale, baggies, and a burned spoon. The FBI and Lafayette police investigated the case. Okay, sparks fly at New Orleans Hard Rock site. Blowtorches blamed for fire, heavy smoke during demolition. An article by Ramon Antonio Vargas. Workers using blowtorches to take apart the collapsed Hard Rock Hotel accidentally started a fire at the site on Monday morning, sending a plume of thick black smoke over downtown New Orleans, officials said. Firefighters said demolition contractors were cutting steel girders with blowtorches when sparks ignited a pile of roofing materials on one of the upper floors about 8:45 a.m. Some of the materials, which were supposed to go into the construction of the hotel before its collapse last year, contained tar, which temporarily gave the fire's smoke an unusually dark color, said Michael Williams, a spokesperson for the New Orleans Fire Department. It made it look worse than it actually was, Williams said. It was one pile of trash that burned. About 20 firefighters used a device mounted on a large ladder atop a fire truck to spray water on the embers, Williams said. He added that firefighters contained the blaze relatively quickly and there was no concern that it would spread to properties neighboring the site at Canal or Rampart Streets. No injuries were reported later in the morning. By 10:30 a.m., the plume of smoke had shrunk and its color had turned significantly lighter. Firefighters had extinguished the blaze by 2 p.m. Williams said the State Department of Environmental Quality had determined the air in the surrounding neighborhoods, including the Central Business District and French Quarter, was safe to breathe. Nonetheless, city officials asked people to avoid the area if possible Monday. They also asked people living and working near the hotel's ruins to shut off air conditioners and external air intakes to limit smoke being brought indoors. The fire occurred 2 weeks shy of the anniversary of the hotel's collapse, which killed 3 construction workers and injured dozens of others. While the body of one of the dead workers, Anthony Magrette, was retrieved within days, the bodies of the other 2, Quinion Wimberly and Jose Ponce, weren't recovered until last month. Crews contracted by the site's developer, 1031 Canal, began working to take the rest of the building down in a planned demolition following the recoveries of Wimberly and Ponce. The Federal Occupational Safety and Health Administration is still completing its final report into the disaster, and the findings could help authorities determine if those responsible for the building's failure should face criminal charges. OSHA months ago issued its preliminary findings, and 11 contractors working at the 18-story hotel when it collapsed were cited for a number of alleged safety violations. Additionally, those behind the doomed project have been sued by the families of the 3 workers who were killed, their injured co-workers, and neighboring businesses whose operations were interrupted. Mayor LaToya Cantrell's administration has also sued the development group led by Mohan Callas, saying the city is owed millions of dollars in costs it incurred while stabilizing the hotel's ruins from further collapse to protect surrounding properties. Officials classified Monday's blaze at the Hard Rock as a one-alarm fire. The number of alarms associated with a fire measures the amount of resources a department deploys in response to an emergency. A one-alarm fire indicates a relatively small response. All right, we're going to take a look at funerals today in the Acadiana area. Arkad Abba Shanab at the Archangel Gabriel Orthodox Church at 1237 Eras Landry Road in Lafayette at noon today, and Louis Woodson at La Chapelle de Martin and Castile at 11 a.m. Let's do some fun stuff, shall we? How about today in history? Of course, today is Tuesday, September 29th. It's the 273rd, 2020, and there are 93 days left in the year. Today's highlight in history: on September 29, 2005, John G. Roberts Jr. was sworn in as the nation's 17th Chief Justice after winning Senate confirmation. On this date in 1789, the U.S. War Department established a regular army with a strength of several hundred men. In 1910, the National Urban League had its beginnings in New York as the Committee on Urban Conditions Among Negroes. In 1918, Allied forces began their decisive breakthrough of the Hindenburg Line during World War I. In 1938, British, French, German, and Italian leaders concluded the Munich Agreement, which was aimed at appeasing Adolf Hitler by allowing Nazi annexation of Czechoslovakia's Sudetenland. In 1943, General Dwight D. Eisenhower and Italian Marshal Pietro Badoglio signed an armistice aboard the British ship HMS Nelson off Malta. In 1978, Pope John Paul I was found dead in his Vatican apartment just over a month after becoming head of the Roman Catholic Church. In 1999, the Associated Press reported on the killing of hundreds of South Korean refugees by U.S. soldiers in the early days of the Korean War beneath a bridge at a hamlet called No-Gun-ri. In 2001, after its own investigation, the U.S. Army affirmed that killings had occurred but said they were not deliberate. In 2001, President George W. Bush condemned Afghanistan's Taliban rulers for harboring Osama bin Laden and his followers as the United States pressed its military and diplomatic campaign against terror. 10 years ago today, anti-austerity protests erupted across Europe. Greek doctors and railway employees walked off the job. Spanish workers shut down trains and buses, and one man rammed a cement truck into the Irish Parliament to protest the country's enormous bank bailouts. 5 years ago, President Barack Obama, hosting a UN gathering of world leaders, pledged all possible tools, military, intelligence, and economic, to defeat the Islamic State group, but acknowledged the extremist group had taken root in Syria and Iraq, was resilient, and was continuing to expand. 1 year ago today, in an interview that aired on CBS 60 Minutes, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said he took full responsibility for the grisly killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, but he denied allegations that he had ordered it. Today's birthdays: conductor Richard Bonyan is 90, writer-director Robert Benton is 88 today, singer Jerry Lee Lewis turns 85. Soul blues gospel singer Sherman Holmes is 81 today. Former Senator Bill Nelson, Democrat from Florida, is 78. Actor Ian McShane is 78 as well. Jazz musician Jean-Luc Ponty turns 78. Nobel Peace Laureate Lech Walesa, 77 today. Actor Patricia Hodge turns 74. TV personality Bryant Gumbel is 72 today. Rock singer, musician Mark Farner turns 72 as well. Actor Drake Hogestyn is 67 today. Olympic gold medal runner Sebastian Coe is 64. And comedian actor Andrew Dice Clay turns 63 today. Singer, musician Les Claypool is 57. Actor Ben Miles turns 54 today. Rock musician Brad Smith of Blind Melon turns 52. Country singer Brad Cotter of the Nashville Star TV show turns 50 today. Emily Lloyd, also 50. Actor Natasha Gregson Wagner, 50 as well. Actor Rachel Cronin turns 49, or 49 actually. And country musician Danik Dupel of Emerson Drive turns 47. All right, let's take a look at our zodiacs for this morning. If you're a Libra, don't argue over something you cannot change. If you consider every angle, you will recognize how to outmaneuver someone who is trying to take advantage of you. Romance is on the rise. Scorpio, bring about changes that make you happy. Let go of situations that are holding you back or making you miserable. Create a plan to help you attain personal growth and inner peace. Sagittarius, think twice before you share personal information. Someone will be searching for a way to make you look bad. An emotional situation will escalate if you act on an assumption or get involved in gossip. Capricorn, it's okay to do things differently. Use your skills and knowledge to boost your income. A domestic change will push you to make adjustments that will bring you peace of mind. Aquarius, evaluate your lifestyle, relationships, and fitness routines. Putting romance back in your life will bring you closer to a loved one. Pisces, use your imagination. Strive to be unique and don't be afraid to share your thoughts and insights. A change will improve how you handle money, health, and contractual matters. Aries, take pride in what you do. You will be judged by what you complete and what you leave unfinished. Put a plan in place that will ensure you take care of business. Romance is favored. Taurus, a change of mind will turn out well. Follow your gut feeling when dealing with work-related situations. Refuse to put your health at risk. Stand up for your rights and set a good example. Gemini, align yourself with like-minded people. If you want to bring about change, you must fight for what you want. Don't let a smooth-talking outsider take advantage of you or your loved ones. Cancer, use your creative skills to get ahead. A partnership will change the way you view life. Don't settle for less when a slight adjustment can make you experience better. Leo, keep a close watch over your possessions, finances, and domestic situation. Aim to please, but not at the expense of your health or position. Anger will not help you get your way, but preparation and organization will. And lastly, Virgo, different directions will entice you. Listen to what others say to get a sense of what will work in your favor. Plan carefully and think systematically. As always, of course, the horoscope is an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. Okay, we've got another story here this morning out of Tiger Stadium. Tiger Stadium fans largely followed virus protocols. Official, we need to get better at wearing masks. LSU officials plan to promote greater mask wearing inside Tiger Stadium following Saturday's football home opener that disappointed state leaders not because of the final score, but because not all fans in the stands kept their masks on. Ahead of the Tigers' season opener Saturday, LSU announced a mountain of health and safety measures related to the coronavirus pandemic, including capping fan attendance at 25% capacity at Tiger Stadium, banning tailgating, and requiring face coverings for fans unless they are eating or drinking. Images captured by the Advocate and television broadcasts of Saturday's game against Mississippi State show, in some cases, little mask wearing among the more than 21,000 who attended. Some even had their masks lowered around their chin and neck. LSU's Senior Associate Athletic Director Robert Munson said that he too noticed some fans removed their masks in the stands, but noticed that many of them didn't move from their assigned seats, which were physically distanced from other groups who went to the game together. We absolutely want our fans to wear masks in our stadium. It's the mandate of the state, he said. We need to get better at wearing masks in the stadium. Still, Munson said he was pleased overall that fans wore masks when they entered the stadium and any time they visited the bathrooms or concession stands. Fans were greeted by temperature checks and other health screenings when they entered the stadium. The school didn't have to enforce its ban on tailgating because no one showed up to try to do so, and Baton Rouge police said they didn't receive any calls about large gatherings over the weekend. At least one off-campus tailgate party was captured on social media, however. A photograph taken shortly before noon Saturday and posted on Reddit shows a large crowd in the yard of a multi-unit home at East Boyd Drive and Dodson Avenue. In the photograph, many at the party are crammed together in an area cordoned off by temporary fencing made of black plastic sheeting, and few have masks on. A young adult who lives in the home and helped put on the party said Monday that fewer than 250 people were at the party and they were outside. He contended the party complied with the state's social gathering limits under Phase 3. Under state and parish rules, public gatherings of no more than 250 people or 50% of capacity are allowed when social distancing isn't possible. The city parish also has a mask mandate when people perform public activities. However, and federal health guidance cited by the city parish recommends masks in public settings, especially when social distancing is hard to maintain. Okay, let's see if I can get our public service announcements. That's our last story from the Acadiana Advocate this morning. We'll take a look at our public service announcements. If you've been getting bitten, requests for mosquito control are now available through Lafayette 311, Mosquito Prevention and Safety. Lafayette Consolidated Government is increasing mosquito abatement efforts in the parish following Hurricane Laura. An increase in mosquito activity is a common occurrence following a storm event. Citizens noticing an influx in mosquitoes in their area can now use the Lafayette 311 portal to request service. All submitted requests are routed directly to Mosquito Control Services, the mosquito control contractor for the parish. And the Festival of Words has a student creative writing contest coming up. All Acadiana area students in grades 3 through 12 who attend public schools, private schools, charter schools, and home schools. The final deadline for online submissions via email is going to be Friday, October the 23rd by 11:55 p.m. The Festival of Words event will be held virtually on November 6th and the 7th. All entrants are invited to attend the virtual festival. Contest winners will be announced on Friday, October 30th, and will be invited to read their original writing pieces virtually on Saturday, November 7th. You can contact Dr. H. Michelle Creamer, that's HMKREAMER, at louisiana.edu. Students in grades 3 through 12 from across the Acadiana area are invited to participate in a writing contest sponsored by the National Writing Project of Acadiana and the Festival of Words. Students can enter their original writing pieces in 3 writing categories, including poetry, fiction, and creative nonfiction. Writing should be submitted through a supervising teacher or school facilitator online by sending them to HMKREAMER at louisiana.edu. Parent and guardian permission must be granted by filling out the student writing contest entry form. The supervising teacher or school facilitator should submit these forms electronically by the submission deadline as well. Awards will be given for first, second, and third place winners. Contest winners will also receive an anthology publication of winning entries. Please feel free to contact Dr. H. Michelle Creamer, Writing Competition Coordinator for Festival of Words Student Creative Writing Contest. Once again, that's HMKREAMER at louisiana.edu. Healing House is seeking grief support group volunteers. Healing House, Hope for Grieving Children, is looking for volunteers to help grieving children and teens who have experienced the death of a parent, sibling, or special person. Interested volunteers must be at least 21 years of age, available 2 evenings out of each month, and able to attend the scheduled training series. Healing House, Hope for Grieving Children, provides grief support groups for children in an atmosphere where they are allowed to express their grief through interactive play, expressive artwork, and discussion groups with peers experiencing the same trauma. All services provided by Healing House are free of charge and run by trained volunteers. Volunteers serve as support group facilitators for children ages 4 through 17 and are instructed how to listen and respond appropriately to a grieving child. A background or experience in mental health or counseling is not required. The upcoming training session will be held on Friday, October 23rd from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. and Saturday, October 24th from 8:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Volunteers are required to attend both days of the training series. The volunteer application can be found online at healing-house.org/ways-to-give/volunteer. Sorry if you hear this noise here. My cat, I'm actually reading from home this morning, and my cat has jumped on my chair and refusing to not get attention. Let's see if we have one more. We have one more public service announcement this morning, and then we'll wrap things up here. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra takes the virtual stage. The ASO announces that they're shifting the fall portion of ASO 36 revival season, September to December, to a virtual live stream platform. ASO believes that this is the unquestionable solution to keeping our community safe while still providing opportunities for local musicians to share their passion and earn income despite mandated restrictions and uncertain venue viability. Acadiana Symphony Orchestra has and will always remain committed to providing outstanding performances to Acadiana and fueling the cultural economy of our region. Symphonies, businesses, and organizations across the country are having to rethink, retool, and reinvent. We are no different. So thank you for your grace and your patience as we map out the next few months. We are working tirelessly behind the scenes to solidify plans for these virtual concerts, and it is our commitment to you that we will clearly and concisely communicate ASO 36 revival season details in the coming weeks. At a minimum, we are certain that you will receive the highest quality live streaming performance, which you can enjoy from virtually anywhere. The lineup: Triumph on Friday, October 23rd, Transform for Friday, November 13th, Believe on Thursday, December the 17th. Those are virtual performances. Adore will be Friday, February 12th, scheduled at the ACA. Empower for Friday, April 16th, 2021 at St. John's Cathedral, and Revive Thursday, May 13th, 2021 at St. Mary's Church. It's 9:51. That's just about all we have for you this morning. We appreciate you tuning in. We read articles from the Acadiana Advocate, local and state news every weekday at 9 a.m. If you have a public service announcement that you would like to have us add to the program, it's completely free to do so. You can email us at info@aocinc.org. You can also find information on how to get on our visual message board on our TV channels at aocinc.org as well. If you'd like to become a volunteer for the program, we would absolutely love to have you. We're currently doing the program virtually from our homes. So basically, we would hook you up with an engineer. You read from your home computer. We supply you with the news. And you just hop in a meeting with us and read the news. If that sounds fun to you, shoot us an email at info@aocinc.org. And once again, this has been Local News Live, a service of AOC Community Media. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us.